Hey there, I think, yes, we are live. Hello! That's exciting. Can't believe it. It's the new year. Seems crazy, doesn't it? Do let me know where you are and what you're doing here, whether you've been knitting for a long time or a short time, anything like that. I'd love to know who you are. And I'm just trying to figure out if I can move the screen a little bit for myself. Okay. The chat is working, I think. Let me know if you can see and hear me. I can see and hear you. I can't hear you, obviously, but there you go. Right. Okay. Okay. Well, hello. Welcome to 2025. It makes you feel old. Well, it makes me feel old anyway, because I remember the new millennium. And actually, we watched the fireworks, the London fireworks on the TV last night at midnight. And it was the London Eye. And that's 25 years since that first went up. Can't believe it. 25 years. Hi, Kathy. Lovely to have you here. Have you been knitting for a long time? Where in the world are you? I have a feeling you might be Europe, if not the UK, like I'm in the UK, because quite a lot of the world is still asleep after New Year's celebrations. Welcome, Kathy. So what I think we have done a lot of chatting about what we did in 2024, what we could do in 2025. That was the purpose of the two videos that kind of bookended this week of Christmas. And of course, there was one in the middle of how on earth do I knit in the middle of Christmas? And what actually interestingly happened for me, I did put this in an email yesterday, was that I couldn't actually knit very much. I burnt myself on one of the trays as I was serving Christmas lunch, and it's looking really good now, actually, because thankfully I have decent first aid in my house, and it's scabbed over and it's okay. But yeah, some of it came off, the skin came off. It was pretty horrible. So that was kind of stopping me from knitting, and my wrist wasn't feeling very well either. But yeah, I haven't really done much in the way of knitting, but I have been in here and I've been watching YouTube videos about knitting, and I've been rather narcissistically watching myself as well, saying, you don't have to knit all the time. Don't worry if you're not knitting all the time. Thanks, Hannah, for that message in the past. So that's quite funny. But I got lots of what I have been knitting over the last few months to share with you. I've got some new yarn as well that I thought I'd share with you today. Otherwise, it would just be another load of videos that would go out over the next few weeks. And I thought, let's just do it today, shall we? We're all at home. A lot of us will have the day off. Hey ho, there you go. Zelda is in Ontario, Canada, having a morning coffee. It is 20 past 11 here, so it's still a morning coffee. I'm still allowed a morning coffee. Kathy's in New Zealand. Hey there. So that means it's coming off of bedtime. Knitted or knotted? Most of my life, learnt as a child, now 62. Long time, yes. Love knitting. I'm 50 this year. So yeah, it all happens, doesn't it? And we don't realise how long it's been going, but then it does. Lovely. So should we just start? I'll have a slurp of coffee. There's a small electric heater on in the background, making a bit of a humming noise. I will turn it off in a minute, otherwise I will sweat buckets. But actually, something interesting happened with my knitting. The jumper that I'm knitting. Now, I've had various videos about this, and I read the next bit of the pattern and I thought, that's not right. Because the next bit of the pattern says, do the shoulders. And Sometimes you sew the shoulders together. That's fine. But I have come to the point where I have finished the front. Let's hold it the right way around, shall we? I finished the front. And in here is the back. And I'm convinced that the pattern is incorrect. That's the back. It says knit the shoulders together. I've done that. I've actually got a video of that in the channel, free needle cast off. So it makes perfect sense. I understand what it is. You put stitches on from the back and from the front. You put them both on needles. And then when you get to the end here, you put your needle through the front one and the back one. So you put one stitch from the front and one stitch from the back part on your needle, and then you knit the next one, and then you cast off like you normally would do. But in the pattern, it says hold the wrong sides together. So you would have this ridge along the shoulder of the cast off. You would normally do that with right sides together. I cannot tell you how many YouTube videos I quickly watched last night telling myself that I was right and the pattern was wrong. Even though I'd done one myself, I've done a video saying this, I was convinced that there must be a video saying it was okay to do it with wrong sides together and right sides out. The pattern is incorrect. So if you're knitting this same jumper as me, and I know some of you actually are, then it's wrong. I will do a video. I hope it will probably end up in the membership area, because it's very niche and complex, and not everybody wants to watch me knitting the shoulders together on a jumper. But I will put it in the membership very likely on what actually happened, and because I know that it's incorrect, I will do it. I think I will do it like the pattern says, just to prove to myself that I'm not going completely bat crazy. Because, yeah, it's got to be wrong. It's got to be wrong. You don't do that when you're doing a 3-needle cast off. So this is an interesting thing. When you get to a more advanced pattern and it's written in a publication that is supposed to know what it's doing, my patterns have mistakes in them. I accept that, and I apologize if you found a knitting pattern from me with a mistake in it. But it does go through to publication. No matter how many times you edit it and you check it and you test it and you knit it, it will go through publication and there'll be a mistake in it. And even big publishers like Rowan will have mistakes in their knitting patterns. So yeah, I'm convinced that it's incorrect. And this is one reason why it's really helpful to have the experience of more knitting patterns, just building yourself up slowly, so you have the confidence to say, that's incorrect, that's right, and recognize when something isn't quite right, and know that you will knit something sometimes and it will be completely wrong, and just be happy with the fact that it didn't go right. So you're allowed to unpick it and knit it the right way. Yeah. So like I say, I think, by the way, it was so lovely just that moment picking up this beautiful bag. I had an email from Layla is from Planet Earth. Congratulations. Welcome to the to the Crazy Club. We're on Planet Earth too. I got an email from Alex saying thank you for putting this in the video. I love it. I love this. I love this. Oh dear. Welcome to the Crazy Club on Planet Earth. Yes. There aren't many of us around who aren't from Planet Earth, but you'll see them when you find them. Oh dear. Now, I've been knitting up some of my old knitting patterns from eons ago. And I did not realize that I had my very first fingerless mitts pattern just sitting there, and I hadn't actually put it on my main website. So that's one thing I've been resurrecting. And I just slurped coffee. I didn't realize it. And these are wonderfully long. That's what I wanted when I first made. Actually, they're ideal for this dress because it's a 3/4 sleeve. So I have resurrected this knitting pattern. I know some of you will be watching this on the replay. Yes, some of you are live. But let me know. I was wondering whether we should do this for a knit along this winter. What do you think? This is very cool. This is knitting 2 threads of yarn together at once. It's not knitting 1 thread of yarn, it's knitting 2. Hi, Carolyn from Australia. Yes, it is still live. We are here live. Welcome. And as Layla has pointed out, we're on planet Earth. There we go. So these are the long mitts. And I have one, and I picked the bag up, and I didn't realise I hadn't sewn it together, have I? Oh, I have sewn it together. This is even more fancy because it's got 2 colours in it. It's yellow with a fuzzy white. Look at that. And I'm wondering whether we should do this for a knit along. What do you think? There you go. But here's the yarns. There you go. Now, these are the guys who actually sent me some more yarns. And the interesting thing is, they're not sponsoring each video. They're not sponsoring the videos. They're just sending me yarns because they're like that. They're very nice. UK-based yarn company, and they're just setting up some new yarns. And they have the ethic that I love, that it's pretty much 95% of their yarn is all sustainable and natural fibres. So that's the kind of yarns that I want to knit with. That is a lovely combination of yarns. If I can find a full ball of yarn, then I will be able to tell you. Here we go. It's Merino Super Soft from Luca S Yarns. There. And the fuzzy one is a combination of silk and mohair, if I remember correctly. You know what it's like when you have a bag full of knitting? This is my other knitting bag. My friend Cara at the Hooting Pirates made these bags, and she sent me one. There's yarn tags in here somewhere for that yarn. Merino Super Soft, Merino Super Soft. Somewhere in here will be the tag for the fuzzy one. There you go, Soft Kid Silk. But all sorts of colours in this, and it's lovely. It is it's a lace weight yarn. I only needed one ball of this, and you can still see I've got lots left over. But I needed 2 balls of the alpaca, and I really fancy doing this for a knit along. What do you reckon? It comes up very similar to a DK weight, but it's just that little bit thicker, and it's nice and fuzzy. It was just an experiment to see whether it would work with that in there as well, and it does. So I'm going, yes, please. I want to do that. So let me know in the comments if you'd like to do that knit along. For all of you down under, then this would work really well because you're moving into winter and you'll have them ready for April, May. But I wear these all the way through to April, May in the UK because it can, some days, firstly, it's chilly in the morning. And then some days you can have a really stiff breeze sometimes coming from the north, and you want your hands covered up, even if you don't want a thick coat on. I will be wearing these all the way through. But then it's also ideal time of year to start knitting Christmas presents and that sort of stuff. So the most bizarre thing is that I've knitted my sister presents that are for winter, and we both have birthdays in May. And it's just one of those things. I'm more than happy to say, do you want a cowl or mitts for your birthday? I'm knitting them. Would you like them? And then she'll wear them in September. It's not that long after May. So you use them for 8 or 9 months of the year. And you can knit them anytime you like. So I was wondering if you'd like that for a knit along. Let me know. Yes, love the long mitts. Where is that made? This yarn is, I think it's Turkey. It might be Italy. There aren't that many large spinners and winders of yarn. No, it wouldn't be Turkey because it's in the EU. And Turkey isn't in the EU. I've got a feeling it's Italy. I've got a feeling it's Italy. I can't see the... It just says made in the EU. From talking to him, I have a feeling it's Italy. Yeah, it is difficult to find. It will be small manufacturers in the UK, and there will only be so many options. British yarns are brilliant when you can find them, and I have knitted with some British yarns this year. These, I think, yes, Layla, I agree. These yellow ones are beautiful. I think brighter colours, like the blue, for example, will be wonderful in spring. We change our clothes in spring. We change to a lighter weight jumpers, skirts, trousers and things in the spring. Why not change the colours and the weights of the knitwear that we're knitting, that we're wearing outside of the house as well? Why not? I feel that if I have I have 3 pairs that I switch between in the winter. I have red, like a turquoisey colour, and purple that I wear in the winter. Mitts like these, different styles and shapes and such like. And why not let myself wear a slightly different colour in the spring because it feels spring-like? Actually, yeah. It didn't occur to me to do that before. And then when I knitted them, and I was thinking about it this week, I was like, yeah, that'd be really bright and inspiring for that time of year. So I'm thinking we have to do that. But yeah, these are very old patterns, and they would be resurrected. So I'm really excited about that. And there are more, because there's 2 mitts patterns that weren't on the shop. They were just on Ravelry, and they really needed a complete revamp and rewrite, etc. So yeah, don't go and get it on Ravelry. Wait until I've rejigged it and set it up again. Now these are the mitts that we knitted in the knit along in the winter last year. They are the mirror cable fingerless mitts, and I knitted these with actually less than 1 ball of this. It's another Luca yarn. I was just playing with it. It's called Cloud. I've got more of it here, and it's that stuff there. I can't work this out because I'm mirrored on the screen. It doesn't quite figure it out for me. It's that one there, the blue, white, lavendery colour, and pale grey there. And there's a slightly darker grey here. There you go. I hope you're not seeing the mirror. I hope you're seeing it, and you can actually read that says Cloud. But these are slightly shorter, so, and they're much thicker because they are Aran weight. But there you are. That's a really nice, another yarn that you can knit these with, because these were originally in the Rowan felted tweed Aran, and it does make sense. Whenever I create patterns, it would be really lovely to have more than 1 yarn suggested and tested for them, and that is the idea with these Rowan felted tweed Aran mitts. They are now, I can now say, yes, they work with the cloud, and they'll actually come out really nicely. So that pattern, I can't remember whether it's actually gone on the website yet. It could be called Cozy Mitts, but the Cozy Mitts knit along is now available on the Academy, which has got all of those. So the cloud yarn is for the Aran ones, and these will be the Merino Super Soft with the soft keeled silk. And I will show you in a minute some more yarns. But yes, we have all of these. And I have knitted 2 yellow ones. I haven't just knitted one. It's in the bag here. It is. It's here somewhere. Oh my goodness, I can't find it. It's there somewhere. It really is. I have a lot of knitting all over the place right now. It's been one of those autumns, actually. Yarn is everywhere. Because I've been trying lots of new yarns, because I was rewriting those patterns. And a lot of the original yarns that I knitted up those original patterns with, they're just not available anymore. So yeah, it's just one of those things that I had to get new yarns and try them, especially the children's patterns, because they were all originally knitted with chunky yarn. I really found it difficult to find natural fibers in a chunky yarn, and it's a nice idea to have chunky yarn in acrylic. It's useful. Stick it in the washing machine after every football match if you want to, but I'd rather not knit with acrylic, to be perfectly honest. So I found lots of different other options, but I had to test them. And it's all kind of spread. Yes, it's all kind of spread. That's something I was thinking about, actually, because I know some of us, and I'm sure and I don't really like mentioning on the channel because it's not really our remit, but the fact that a lot of us have less money to spend as we wish. It's just a fact of life at the moment. It feels like we're going back to the beginning of our marriage, because you're just starting to pay a mortgage, you're doing other things, and you need other things that you need to save for, like furniture and etc., etc. Getting used to running a household budget in a different way because there's 2 of you. At the moment, it feels like we're getting used to spending money in a different way again because we have to. Not that we got married again. It's just one of those things. So honestly, it feels a bit like that. And right now, I recognize, obviously, in the last 3-4 months, some of the money has gone on gifts. That's the household budget. But I'm very aware that my household budget, well, no, I haven't spent a lot on other things, but I have spent money on yarn and books. Yarn and books. I bought another book. I actually got Waterstones vouchers for Christmas. So very excited about that. What was the book I bought? It was Weathering, which sounds really lovely, actually. And it's kind of like, I wish I could describe it to you, because I read the back and I read the first few pages in the shop, and I haven't picked it up since, but because I'm already reading other stuff. If I can find it. Yes, there it is. The extraordinary stress of everyday life. Oh, joy. Rocks and mountains have withstood eons of life on our planet, gradually eroding, shifting, solidifying, and weathering. We might spend less time on Earth, but humans are also weathering. We're evolving and changing as we're transformed by shifting climates of our lives and experiences. So what might these ancient natural forms have to teach us about resilience and change? And this is written by a psychotherapist and geologist. Nick loves geology. It's one of his biggest loves in life. So we're talking about ancient landscapes and showing how geology formed the bedrock of our adult life and approach to life. And it actually sounds like an interesting read, because it's part of her. It's part autobiography as well. So I fancy that. Some of the books I've already got and I've showed you before, like Wintering. I read one. It may even have been the beginning of last year, about a GP who'd moved north in the UK, and she'd picked up a practice, a very small practice with a very small community, and she was talking about how she'd got so much benefit from being in that small community and serving a small community like that. What's it called? I can't find it. Okay, I can't find it. I think it's A Fortunate Woman. And that was a lovely read last year. And yeah, it was just about someone's life and understanding how we grow and change and shift as we move through life. Lucas, morning. Happy New Year. Oh, thank you. Knit blanket squares, please. Oh, my word. How many ways can you knit blanket squares? This is something I know I need to do. I really want to do a video about blanket squares and a video about how many ways you can knit shawls, because there are so many ways you can knit shawls, very similarly to blanket squares. Let's focus a bit more, because otherwise I'm just going to sit here and talk about which books I've read and reading and all that sort of thing. I'm going to draw a square. That's an interesting question, because you can cast on here like 3 or 4 stitches, go big, go big, go big, and then go home and go home, go home. You can increase, 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 and then decrease, decrease, decrease. So you're knitting in that direction. You can cast on around the right angle. So you're casting on lots of stitches, and then you're decreasing in the center here, and you get smaller and smaller. So you have the cast on here and the cast off here. So that's another way. That's another way of doing it. You can also just knit a square, but the one thing I would do is knit a square like that, so you have a border around it. So there's something there that is holding it in place. So you cast on, knit, and cast off. So that's one thing. You can also knit in a circle, so that you cast on all the way around, but you cast off it at 4 points, and you cast off in the center. You can also cast on in the center and then increase at the 4 points. So you have the 4 points and then you cast off on the outside. How's that? Is that enough? That's a lot of blanket squares. So let's do that again. Cast on, increase, 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 decrease, decrease when you get back to here. Increase, 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 decrease, 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 decrease. So you're knitting like diagonally. Cast on the 2 sides, and then you're decreasing in the center of the row, and you'll end up with very few stitches here. So your blanket My blanket's in the other room, otherwise I would go and get it. Your blanket looks like it's kind of got squares in it. I love doing these with Carolyn Reed, you need my book. Ooh, have you written a book about blanket squares? Ah, I know some of you are watching adverts at the moment. Oh my goodness. YouTube does this. I wish it wouldn't. It's just stuck adverts in the middle of a video. Sorry. Sorry, sorry, sorry. If you've missed this bit, come back and watch it another time. So, yeah, do it in garter stitch. So knitting every row. Knit every row. Knit every row, knit every row, knit every row, and you're decreasing all the time in the middle. What else did I say? Oh, yes, do cast on one edge, knit, 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 cast on one edge, but make sure you're knitting a border into it so it's a lot easier to sew them together. Cast on in the center, increase on 4 points, so you have right angles where you're increasing, and then cast off the long edge. This is like knitting a circle in many ways. You can do a circle from the inside out or from the outside in. And yes, you need a circular needle. You could actually go and get circle skills over in the academy, because that will teach you how to do inside out and outside in. You can also cast on all 4 sides in the circle and then decrease on 4 sides to cast off in the center. How's that sound? Good? Yes. That's knitting a square. When it comes to knitting a triangle for a shawl, oh my goodness, are we talking equilateral? Are we talking right angle? Are we talking isosceles? That's just a headache. I'm sorry, that's just a headache. I hope that was helpful, Lucas. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for your question. It is kind of a bit of a push to say we need those videos here. We need those videos. And I will come back to it. That's the thing. Now, this is one interesting thing. If you want to focus on one particular skill and you want to go with that for a good period of time, then you could knit blanket squares in so many different ways and you would make multiple blankets. Fabulous. And you could mix them up across one blanket, all of those different options, but they wouldn't really sit together because the textures, the thickness of them, the way that they sew together would be quite different. So I would say I'd do a blanket with one style, a blanket with another style, a blanket with another style, and test them out as well. Like I have all of these just sat here and the ends aren't sewn in, and I feel so bad about that. But a lot of them, the ends are sewn in. That's waiting to be videoed, and that's waiting to be videoed, and I have a lot of them where the ends are sewn in, and I use them for placemats. So you could test out the different blanket squares, different styles, and see which one you like. Just have an experiment. And then you could say, I like that one and I like that one. That means I'll knit 2 blankets with those 2 different styles. And you're done. But it can be a longer project. You can say, I'll take 2-3 years over this. And that's okay. As I was saying in the video the other day, when was it? Actually, it was yesterday. I have a feeling it was yesterday. If you take 3 years to do a project, that's okay. I took 3 years to knit blankets. And I quite enjoyed that it lasted longer. Yeah. Lucas, why is the yarn in the shop so expensive? Okay. Now that's another question, isn't it? Yarn in the shop is expensive because there's also cheap yarn in the shop. So if you go, for example, into Lidl or Hobbycraft, you're going to find synthetic fibres. You're also going to find cotton and wool also, but it will be the cheaper versions of cotton and wool. So the wool, it will be the last remains of the wool once the fleece has been carded and combed. and they will be very short. They will likely be the shorter fibres. So the longer the fibres are, there's less, the better quality it will be. The more it will last, the less it will break as you're knitting, the less it will break as it's being spun and woven and wound into balls. So that's one thing. Also, how expensive the dyes and what good quality of the dyes. Are the dyes going to last a long time? Are they going to fade with time? Are they going to come out in the wash? When you buy decent quality yarn and decent quality finished knits, actually, in the shop, they're not going to lose their colour in the wash. But some will, and that can be because it's not such good quality dyes. Also, you have to pay the people who are making these things a decent wage. So that's another thing that goes on with that's another thing with the yarn. What wages are you paying people? And then there's, for example, if you go to Rowan Yarn, they are not only selling yarn in their own shop, they are selling it to retailers. So firstly, they need to make a profit on the yarn that they're selling to a retailer, and then the retailer has to sell yarn and make a profit on it as well, while paying their wages and paying the retail shop taxes and such like. So making the yarn, selling the yarn wholesale to retailers, and then the consumer buys it. Everything that you buy in the world has all of those things as well. So it's one of those things. It's a product in a shop, so it's always going to have that. But the better quality it is, the longer it will last. Someone asked me in an email this week, actually, why does a jumper cost so much to knit? And the yarn I'm using for that jumper that I'm knitting, it would cost 80, 90, probably £100 if you're paying for all of the yarn. But this is one tip I would give everyone. Be willing to knit with the same yarn over and over and over again so that you have the leftovers. Carolyn, feel free to put your book title in the comments. That's fine. We're all friends here. The yarn that you knit with over and over and over again, you can then dip into for knitting larger items. A lot of the yarn that I'm using for my jumper is all leftovers. I've just said, oh, I've got that one. I've got that one. I've got that one. I only need to get that one. I think I had to buy 5 instead of 10 balls of yarn. Isn't that good? So definitely use leftovers and recognize when you are knitting something like a large item like a jumper, you are going to have leftovers that you can use and knit with for other things as well. So it will be gifts that you knit afterwards with the leftovers. It will be accessories that you knit for yourself afterwards. So it won't just be this jumper cost me that much money. It will be this jumper and 3 items afterwards cost me this much money. So think about that too. It's a hobby. If you were fishing, if you were paying to go to the gym, if you were golfing, if you were paying to go to a swimming pool, all of these things, buying running shoes 2 or 3 times a year because you're running so much. All of the things that we do in life, it's going to cost money. And if you want yarn to cost you less money, then you move to thinner yarn. So it will take you longer to knit something. Yeah. Afraid so. What yarns are you excited to knit with this year? And will you repeat some yarns? Are you going to build up a stash of leftovers? I have bags. This is one bag of leftovers that I dipped into for the jumper, actually. And I have another bag just like this with the same yarn in it. And that is all leftovers. And I know anytime I want to, I can dip into this and say, oh, I need to knit a stripy pair of mittens. There you go. There it is. I'm ready to go. I don't need to go out and buy new yarn. So that's always an option. Just build up the stash of leftovers and recognize you can knit with them any time you like. I was going to show you some new yarn, wasn't I? So this box of yarn came yesterday, actually. It came in the post, or was it the day before? One or the other. And this is new yarns from the same people, Luca S. Yarns. This is worsted Aran, and it's a mixture of alpaca and polyamide, so it isn't all natural, but it's brushed alpaca. We have forest green, white, and a corally pink colour there. I'm not sure what I'll do with this actually, because it's thick. It is and it's only 25 grams. That's because of the weight of the yarn. It's not because of the length. It's 125 meter, which isn't bad for an alpaca, an Aran worsted weight yarn. It is thick because you can see it's kind of boucle. There it is. It's got the texture to it. That's what makes it thicker. You could also hold this with another yarn and knit with it in a different way. Kathy, what? Yeah. The exchange rate as well. That's going to make a difference. Where it comes from, where it's being transported to and from, that sort of thing. Now this one, I'm in love with already, and I've only picked it up a couple of. Yeah, Layla, you could use this in a blanket, definitely. It would be an interesting one to try mixing with other yarns if you knit it with a yarn at the same time, like a thinner yarn at the same time. That would be an interesting experiment. This one is 100% alpaca. If I get my, yes, baby alpaca, which does mean it's the first fleece. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? It's a beautiful electric blue. And they've sent me this in a raspberry. It's a really dark, you can't see that actually. It's a really dark ruby red. If I was to show you, there you go. It looks much closer to that ruby than the video is letting you see. It's much darker than Father Christmas's hat. There you are. What else do we have? Alpaca Dream is another baby alpaca. I think this one is, yes, it's DK. So that one was also DK, but it's the slightly different. I don't know why it's different. 125 meters, 100 meters. That's slightly thicker, but they're both labeled as DK. So that's Alpaca Dream. Very slightly thicker, and that's Alpaca Dream. This would probably work, Alpaca Dream, for the DK mittens. But if you could knit this with a different one, knit it alongside. This is thicker. This is Alpaca Merino. That's a beautiful rusty red. That's a lovely orange colour. And again, it's not showing up very well on the screen. It's described as brick. Yarn weight Aran 5mm needles. That's a lovely yarn. Alpino. Alpaca Merino yarn. Funnily, that is called Alpino. You wouldn't think, would you? And it's got baby yellow as well. That's a lovely yarn. That would work really well for those mittens that I shared with you. Yeah. Yes, they are festive, aren't they? So as another box full for me to test and see what I could knit with them. So thank you, Luca. Luca S Yarns. And if I can find it Crikey. Actually, let me see. I might have it here because they did send me a code for you to use. Oh, there you go. Do you fancy using that? Get 50% off. I do get a slight commission with that. I get 15%, but it means that they lose part of their profit. Oh dear. Right. Andy says, any recommendations for men's jumper patterns? Knitted one of a magazine, but neck was way too big. Yeah. Raglan. Raglan, it's gonna feel like it's pulling away from the neck. Serdar. Actually, I have a very old Serdar book of men's patterns, actually. That's Peyton's. Family books wouldn't go astray. If I were you, I would go to bookshops or even yarn shops and just go through knitting pattern books rather than individual knitting patterns. That's what I've found. And I said to myself eventually, looking at individual patterns really doesn't help. And I found that getting the books and just sticking with them, because so many books will have the classic patterns in them, and then you can change them slightly. You can make the torso a bit shorter and the sleeves longer or shorter if you want to. You can use them, knit them in stripes and all that sort of thing. And that's actually what I'm doing with the jumper that I'm knitting. I've made the torso slightly shorter so that it matches one of the jumpers that I've got. I realised that it was getting quite long, and I thought, I don't want it any longer. I just measured it against my jumper that I like wearing this time of year, with a skirt or with my jeans. I don't want it too long and all over my hips and such like. So I just knitted it up. You can't see where I'm indicating. So it just kind of reaches the waistband of jeans and such like. It doesn't go any longer. And I just shortened it. So that's something. I would definitely suggest going to find a book, getting the classic patterns. Once you've knitted some of them, then you'll know a lot more what you're looking for. There are family books. There are definitely men's books as well. Magazines, yeah, they're okay. But sometimes this is the one thing with magazine knitting patterns that I am very well aware of. When it comes to knitting magazine patterns, they are abbreviated sometimes more than they need to be, just because they need to fit them in the magazine. So it could be more difficult to read them. And like I say, there might be mistakes in them. Always be aware of that. You will read it, you will come across knitting patterns with mistakes in them. It's just part of knitting. There was another question here. Do I have a crochet? I can crochet. I have crocheted. My wrist struggles when I crochet. Actually, this week, just because I was lifting things out of the oven more often than usual, my wrist was struggling. So I've been wearing a strap on it over the weekend, and this is fun. We went to Stonehenge. We went to Stonehenge on Saturday morning with my sister and her family because they were down. It's not far away from us. And we used the wheelchair while we were there. So I was moving it around and such like. So my wrist didn't like that either. But I was able to do it more, and I'm not able to do it as much now. And I had to end up saying, knit. It works well. It works better. So just keep on knitting. So yeah, that's, if I had a crochet channel, it would be very likely much bigger than my knitting channel. And crochet used to be kind of on a level. and below knitting. Crochet had done that in the last 10 years. Actually, even in the last 5 years. Knitting is still down here. It kind of goes up and down and up and down in the winter, in the spring, in the summer. And then, whoa, crochet's just gone way, way, way above it. So it's certainly more popular. You just have to be very well aware of where the pattern is coming from that you're knitting, crocheting, because the technique is written differently. Ah, dear. Funny. We've had some lovely comments throughout the channel saying what everyone wants to do in 2025. Why don't we share some of that here as well? Cherry, hi Cherry. I know you're going to watch the replay. Cherry wants more patterns with tutorial videos. Yeah. I was doing that more way ago. When we started doing knit alongs, and then realized that it was much easier for people to comment and us to have stuff laid out more easily in the academy. So we started doing a knit along there. Someone wants to do some cable and finish the current projects. That's a good plan. Yeah, knit up the collection of patterns that I've liked, bought, and accumulated. There are a few. Who recognizes that? Oh, like to learn Fair Isle with 2 hands instead of picking up and dropping, which is slow. There's a knitting pattern. There's a video about Fair Isle on here, and we also have 2 knit alongs which you can go and use from the past. They're like self-guided. They're now you can use that past knit along and just knit along with it, which use Fair Isle. So there are 2 of them: the Sashiko cowl and the baby hats. They both have Fair Isle in them. I'm also creating a course. It's slow. I said in the autumn that I would be making it over 6 months, and I am. Yeah, it's happening. So that's something that is happening. Helen says, why do how to sew up videos not match the type of knitting I'm sewing up? Oh, yes. Perfectly neat straight edges, which isn't how my knitting is. Yeah, I get that. Because the first and the last stitches on a row can be a bit wibbly wobbly. I am planning on doing some videos on how I'm making up the jumper. So I will share that with you. And we're not perfect knitters. We're not machines. I think that has to be recognized. You can do YouTube tutorials with very small pieces of knitting, and doesn't that look wonderful? Because it's a small piece of knitting and it's a perfect yarn that gives you a really straight edge. And oh, look, I can sew an edge up. Go and have a look at my sewing the seams up videos, because there are 3 different types of sewing up methods in that video. If I can quickly find it, I will share it with you now. Sewing seams in knitting. Copy link address. Hi, Judy. There we go. That's the sewing the seams up. And I mean, they're not perfect. It's just one of those things. And I hope my knitting tutorial videos just do show that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do it the very same way as everyone else. And I give you options. I'm not a perfect knitter. I look at a lot of the YouTube videos about knitting and I say, well, they're way above me. I've not done knitting degrees and this is how you teach knitting courses. I am knitting from my experience and I'm teaching from my experience, because that's what every other knitter is knitting from, their own experience. I just know, because I've been told many times in my life that I happen to have a good handle on teaching. So it became a good idea to become a teacher on YouTube. And that's really what I've wanted to do for a very long time. So yeah, I'm teaching from my own experience. And yeah, please, 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 your knitting does not have to be perfect. Your knitting has to be usable, wearable, and it has to be so much knitted by you that you are in love with it and you're so proud of yourself for knitting it. That's just what knitting is. Yeah? Judy, I'm really enjoying knitting the Bankfield sweater. So glad you inspired me. I was talking about that earlier in the video. Go back and watch it, Judy. I think there's a mistake in the pattern when you come to the shoulders. I'm going to film it. Are you in the membership? I can't remember whether you are. Okay. If anyone is here and wants to join the membership, I actually need to drop the January video, and there will be Q&A in January as well in 2 weeks' time. Definitely, I will be sharing the shoulder miscommunication in the pattern in the membership, very likely. And I will be sharing more and more videos all over the channel about the jumper. But I was just saying that there will be knitting pattern mistakes. It's just one of those things. You're finding it hard to join. I'm not sure what you mean by that. How do you mean it's hard to join? So it's youtube.com/knitwithhannah/join. No, this isn't about joining the YouTube premium. This is about joining the channel membership. So lots of different channels on YouTube have individual memberships, and you can join. Fill in your details. Send me an email. We'll try and work this out, Judy. It might be because you've got pop-ups blocked. Try a different browser. What membership level gets you the knit along? The knit alongs are separate. Yeah, because the membership is $1.99 a month. And the knit along has full step-by-step tutorial videos. We have conversation things and all sorts of stuff. The channel membership, Lucas, is $1.99 a month. If you want discounts on courses and things when I launch new stuff, then it's $3.99 or $8.99. Depends on how generous you want to be. It just means that I get more support on the channel. The money that I was getting during COVID, because knitting isn't a big thing anymore, and I needed something else to help prop up the business. I can only work a few hours every week. And, I'm not begging for money. My husband is working, but because of my ill health, I can't work that much. So yeah, it helps keeps Knit with Hannah going. And I'm very grateful for every member in there. And you get my one-to-one feedback on your any questions that you might have. Okay, thanks, Lucas. Yeah, Judy, email me. We'll see what we can do. You can send me some. Oh, ads are about to start again. Yes, I skipped them. Whoa. Hi, Alexandra from Romania. I knew there would be some Europeans in here. And you're kind of, whoa, the other side of Europe, aren't you? Right. Yes, I was talking about other people over in the comments telling us what they wanted to do for 2025. Do you have any goals for 2025? Like, organising your yarn stash perhaps, or um, knitting in a particular way during the week or time of day or anything like that? Oh, hi, Luca. You're only 13. Oh, wonderful. Fabulous. Well, welcome to knitting. Um, so just Oh, and what do you want to knit in January? Because we're not in the summer yet. It's still winter. Any ideas? Are we knitting jumpers still? Are we thinking cozy? Because that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm thinking cozy. I'm thinking scarves and hats and all that sort of stuff. Um, is there a technique that you'd like to master and start doing? I know someone mentioned cables, someone mentioned Fair Isle. There are so many different parts of knitting, and we do not have to do it all at once. If there's just one thing you'd like to do, there you go. Luca's been knitting since 7. There you go. That's a brilliant start. I started when I was 4. I was just kind of in and out of it because there are so many other things to do when you're that age. And yeah, it was when I was a teenager, just like you, that I really started to get into it more, understanding a bit more about it. Ah, you're knitting blanket squares for a birthday present. Ooh, yeah. Go and watch the cable video. Let me find it for you. Have you ever knitted cables before? There you go. That is actually a square I'm knitting in that video. There you go, Lucas. I think you might have a square for a blanket there. If you watch that, you'll see how easy it is. There are lots of things in knitting that seem really, really difficult. But as soon as you grasp the one thing that feels difficult, you're flying. Yes, there are lots of other things you can do with cables. And if you want to go further with cables, then certainly go and get the course, because that will take you into many more nuanced ideas and things that you can mix up when you're cabling. But just that one technique in cabling, and you could have lots of blanket squares. That's one thing I haven't done, actually. I haven't shared the blanket square knit along. Try the cabling, see what you think. That one video might be all you need. So yes, this Friday, by the way, 2 days time, the Knitting Rhythm first podcast is going to drop, and you're going to have access to it. I'm wondering whether I share it on here. I might do. I'll see how I get on. We're going out today for lunch. It's 12 already. The family has decided to give us lunch at 2:00 this afternoon. Who eats? I know some people do eat 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I can never understand it. I had breakfast about 10 just to shift my food that little bit further south. But no, I'm going to be all over the place. 2:00, and that usually means if they've said we'll eat at 2:00, we're going to be eating at past. You know what I mean? I'll see how I get on when I get back and what we get up to tomorrow. But Friday, the first Knitting Rhythm podcast will drop. If you want in that, then go and have a look, because the Knitting Rhythm podcast is going to be every single Friday throughout the whole year. And I'm hoping we can go on for more years, because I have so many ideas. And we're talking about knitting with the seasons, basically. How does it feel to Follow the seasons of the year with your knitting. We've talked about this so many times here on the channel because, I mean, what to knit in spring and what to knit in summer, what to knit in December, how to knit in the winter, and all this sort of thing. But actually, when you're sitting down and knitting, what does that feel like? And we're just going to dip into different parts of the knitting experience and look at it through the eyes of the seasons as well, but also the rhythm of knitting and how it feels as you move through and you understand your knitting a bit more. This isn't about learning new techniques. This is about the knitting experience, the the beauty that comes with knitting and the benefits that come with knitting. And yeah, I've wanted to have a podcast for so long, not on video, but in audio format. We've done audio stuff before with every knit along. Lots of podcasts come out with each knit along. So if you like them, then I'm pretty sure you're going to like this. Knitting Rhythm starts on Friday. That's going to be a preview episode, but from then on, every Friday, it's going to be like a big course. They just come out every Friday, and you get it inside a podcasting app. So isn't that fun? I do hope you'll join me for that. I will find the link for you to join. I will also stick that in the thing here. Do sign up for that. I'd love to have you, and we've already got some knitters in waiting to go, and I'd love to have you join them. And we're not inside having a chit chat all over the place, and you don't have to be anywhere at any time. You'll get an email when there's a new podcast. Here it is. Come and listen. You can put notifications on as well, so it's ready for you whenever it drops. And you know, we have the winter retreat as well as the knit along. I'm hoping this year, I've been wanting to do it for years, but I've had COVID every spring for the last 3 years. Hoping we can do a spring knitting retreat. So I'm certainly looking forward to that. I've said it now, haven't I? Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed we can do that. That's going to be an exciting one for 2025, I think. So we've got the podcast going. We're going to do definitely more knit alongs in 2025. I'm going to carry on knitting my jumper. I'm just going to carry on knitting like everyone else carries on knitting. And I will video some more tutorials with that and with the new knitting patterns that are old patterns revisited. Okie dokie. Well, thank you for joining me, letting me know where you are. Carolyn, do share your book. We'd love to know where it is and where to get hold of it. I will see if I can find you on YouTube if you're about on YouTube, but I will certainly see if I can find your book. We'd love to know what that is and all about it. Knitters unite. Hey? Yes. Right. Thank you very much for being here. I will see you Friday, obviously not live, but with the new podcast. And if you're not on my email list, then get on the email list. You can just do that via my website. You'll find email list, join up there, or you can do knitwithhannah.co.uk/wait list. That is how you get on the email list. And I will send out the new podcast for everyone on Friday. Right. Yeah, I hope it's worth the wait too. Thanks, everyone. Go and enjoy your lunch if you're in the UK, because it is lunchtime. I think I might make myself another coffee. I've just got to keep myself going until then. Yeah, have a great day. Have a great new year and have a great 2025. All right. Bye for now. I will see you again soon. Happy knitting.